Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of SSR College of Pharmacy, I take privilege to welcome Mr. Percy Italia. To introduce him, he is Head Quality Unit Assurance Unit, Jai Research Foundation, and has served as Study Director for Ecotoxicity Studies. He has been supporting regulatory requirements as an QA auditor for GLP studies. He did his MSc in Aquatic Biology from South Gujarat University, Surat. From over 24 years in CRO industry, Sir has experience in conducting acute dietary and reproduction studies in birds, earthworms, fish, and daphne. He joined JRF in September 1996 and served as head ecotoxicology section. He played a key role during development of bird dietary studies, bird reproduction studies, and earthworm reproduction studies. He was also a part of registration, evaluation, authorization of chemicals, that is REACH, response team at GRF. He also participated in dossier preparation for European regulatory submission. He served as a member secretary of Institutional Animal Ethics Committee and Institutional Human Ethics Committee. He served as an auditor and has conducted audits for different types of studies as per OECD principles of GLP. He has played a major role in developing software for SOP management system. On behalf of SSR College of Pharmacy, I welcome you, sir. And sir, today we'll conduct a session on SOPs. I request sir to insight us with further details.
Thank you. And now I will start the SOP program. Before that, I am very much grateful for the opportunity to SSR College Management, Dr. Sanjeev, Dr. Chirag, and the team. So let's start about our presentation about SOPs. So standard operating procedures. I have brought SOPs introduction, preparation, review, amendment, and revision of SOPs in this program. Meantime, so what is an SOP? SOP is required for in all organizations, GLP organization, GLP systems, and even during inspections for the day-to-day activities in CROs or organization, SOPs are required. So first of all, the definition of an SOP. SOP means documented procedures which describes how to perform tests or activities normally not specified in detail in study plans or test guidelines. That is the definition given in OECD document number 1. So it says clear cut that how to perform tests and or activities, and which is not there specified in detailed study plan or test guideline. One example is our temperature record, which we take in this day-to-day activities. Like in guideline, they say that you have to maintain temperature 20 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade. But same thing we also write in our study plan that we'll take temperature 22 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade. But how to take temperature? What type of instrument, whether digital, analog, whatever, how to document it. So this type of procedure should be mentioned in SOP. So this is the classic example one. Same another definition which is given in FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. It says a SOP is a document which describes the regularly recurring operations relevant to the quality of the investigation. So it is crystal clear. Same that it describes the recurring procedure about this recurring operations. The purpose of a SOP is to carry out the operations correctly and always in the same manner. Means repetitive nature, you can say. And a SOP should be available at the workplace where the work is done. This definition was given in FAO. So I think I is clear about our definitions. So what is an SOP? Again, the definition, documented procedures which describe how to perform tests or activities normally not specified in detail in study plan or test guidelines. Now, SOP is also an instructional guide. It will give you instructions. If there is a language of the procedure, of the method, how to do the work, then it will give instructions. Also, it is a source of information. Any newcomer or new joinee or a person who is under training can read and get the information, what is the study related or whatever the activities related. And it also works as a reference document, because you can provide a reference of the particular SOP for any method or any type of information. Same time, it is also a training aid, because any who is doing this under training, so a person who is giving training can identify the SOP, provide guidance on the base of SOP, and it is the one way it is a training aid. So SOP is also a written detailed instructions, and it should cover all laboratory activities. In laboratory, there are many activities, whether it is a study related, experimental related, or you can say study plan, or report writing, SOP for SOP writing, standard formats and documentation, other than how to take test items from test and control office, how to dispose the compound, instruments, related to maintenance, calibrations, everything. So it covers all laboratory activities. Also, it provides in-depth description of who should do what, where, and how. This is very much important, because as our in GLP, they say that the trained person should carry out the activity. So who should do? This is the study director, study person's defined activities, their job responsibilities. So this type of work always come in the SOP. They describe what should do. Each and every person cannot do all activities until he is trained and he is familiar with the SOP, related SOPs. When, where, and how, like dosing. At what time would dosing should be done in the animals? Where, which rooms, experimental rooms, and how to do it, the activities, like how to do the dosing. So there's one example. SOP describes how to perform certain routine repetitive laboratory tests. It means that just we'll take example that one person conducting pH study. So it is in 1 month they will do 2 pH study or 10 pH study, but it is a routine repetitive laboratory test. Also activities, same way. So it is normally not spent detailed study plan or test guidelines. Generally, in study plan or test guideline, we are mentioning that we will take test item and then we will carry out the pH in some instrument. But which instrument, how to operate it, how to take test item, these all activities, it will be in detail, will be given in SOP. So for SOP preparation, there are certain points which are to be considered. First is language. English is the language we generally follow in SOPs, but you can include local language also in SOP. Like in experimental parts, animal rooms, now there is a cleaning, housekeeping, and we are taking help of attendants who are just carrying out these type of activities. They don't know English language, but you can translate exactly same in local language, whichever, depending on the state, and you can provide the things. So they can be trained, they can read in their native language, and they can train in this matter. And it should be documented. SOP should be exactly same as in English. Then there should be a set format. During SOP preparation, purpose and scope. Almost all SOPs has this function, purpose and scope. Then writing style, how you will write it. Font size, etc. You can set format for this. And throughout organization, across the organization, all SOPs should follow this type of things. Same thing. Then procedure. Procedure will read from like test item, how to take test item to test item control office, how to transfer it to experimental room, how to carry out the dosing activities, how to take observations, how to dispose the test item. So up to the end, whatever the procedure, this information we can write in the SOPs. Another is guidelines and manuals. So guidelines on which we are the SOP is based, we can write this in SOP and we can mention it on references. that this SOP, even sometimes we use combined guidelines. Then we can mention both guidelines and what are the criteria for both of the guidelines of this. For instruments, we can use the manual as a reference, and accordingly we can prepare the SOP, because for instrument we are getting now manuals. Publications. Many type of SOPs need some are based on some publications. So these are the all the points which are considered for the SOP preparation. So when one person writes SOP, it should be written by an expert. The expert will write SOPs in set template according to the language, which type of language you have to use, and all that. Now, first, more important is short sentences. SOP should be like instruction manual, short and sweet, how to do it one by one, step by step. Simple words and terms where possible. SOP should not be like a complicated research paper or something. It should be a simple words, simple language. So any person, whether he has past 8 to 15 years in organization for one study or a newcomer, both can follow SOP simply and perfectly. Then another is write the sentence as compulsory instructions. Compulsory instructions, it means because one has to follow and accordingly all the points written in the SOP. No step should be missed, one by one accordingly. And use operative order is very much important, because one wrong step, it will give a wrong procedure. So you have to use correct operative order during SOP writing. Now there are two things. One is instruction, one is information. So both should be separated. Sometimes we are writing the instructions one by one, but there is some information we need to give. Then we can give a separate note that is the whatever the information we can provide there. Number of pages should be limited, because if everything we can include unnecessary thing, then it will become lengthy. If we will write long sentences, then it will again become lengthy and hard to follow. So better pages should be limited, short sentence, simple words and terms, so one can follow step by step. To understand the procedure, diagram and figures which are used now globally, it is a very good thing that you include diagram, figures wherever possible. So any new user can just go through the diagram, figure, and then he can understand that how the steps are going one by one, and then he can follow all the procedure. Now, when the SOP is written, then it should signed by the author. It should be approved by the test facility management and cleared for issue by the QA. Now, it is a system that SOP should be identified who has written it. His training record should be completed to write the SOP. Also, it should be approved by the test facility management. And it is cleared for issue by the QA. Generally, in all the organizations, QA is the unit which is handling this type of things. Some can afford a special designated person like document control officer who can manage this all SOP related issues. Now, SOP should be controlled. It is actually property of the organization, and it should be controlled. Uncontrolled copy cannot be used. It should not be issued. And there is a master copy. The master copy should be kept separately, and generally it is kept in archives. The archive person kept master copy, and only he will give the master copy when there is an amendment or devious some amendment or revision is required. Otherwise, master copy will be safely kept in the archives. If any SOP, when we have to provide to any client or sponsor for their reference, then we have to take the uncontrolled copy of the SOP, not controlled. Controlled will be in the organization. Now, these copies should be distributed to the concerned persons. Concerned person is study directors, study persons, any section heads, or any concerned person. Another is whenever there is a new version, the old version should be collected and it should be disposed properly, and record should be kept of disposal as a disposal record. So for successful SOP implementation, 3 points are more important. One is management support and company culture. Now, there are sometimes this case happens that SOPs are violated, then there should be some documented procedure how to take steps to prevent it. And management support is most important in this matter. And culture of the company, where one should not enter it to break the rules or laws of the what is written in SOP. This is one type of policy imposed by the management. So there is a company culture is one more important where should be encouragement to follow the SOP. Another is training to personnel to follow SOPs. Now all seniors or all senior persons, they actually should encourage the junior staff that you have to follow the SOP. It is what is the importance of SOPs in the organization. And there should be a training. Generally, QA is always giving training, but our NGCM and other organizations also giving training how to follow SOPs, what is the importance. And another is SOP management system. SOP management system is something which organization has to develop and follow, where how to control the SOP, how to amend the SOP, how to record deviations of SOP, how to keep the records. Also, the SOP when it is disposal and during revision, you have to collect old SOPs. Again, you have to issue new SOPs. Even for some clients or we have to provide SOPs, then there should be a record that each SOP was provided on how it is uncontrolled SOPs were provided, other things. So SOP management system, in some organization, they are keeping this our hard copies, still maintaining the old formats and other thing. And some organization now already moved on soft platform, where you can just put enter the SOP number, issue number, copy holder, location, effective dates, review periods, revision issue, and what is the details of the revision, other things. Another is, it is part of laboratory master document system. It becomes laboratory master system because all laboratory activities are reflected in SOPs, and all laboratory activities are performed as per SOPs. So it covers all activities. SOPs covers administrative work, personal management, safety, hygiene, housekeeping, and technical, which it means study related in toxicology or chemistry, other things. SOP for successful SOP implementation. Another important thing is it should be readable, it should be clear, it should be precise, it should be practical. It should be fully understood and followed. So there should be again record for the same. That a person has read the SOP, he has gone through all the matters written in the SOP, and he is following it. Now, fully understood, it means there should be a record of SOP read and understood. This also some now is organization follow in the hard copies in writing, and some are following the soft platform where was in intranet you can go and open the SOP up to you can read understood, then you can just by your login you can put the read understood push button, and then it will be in the on the record. So these are the required things for the successful SOP implementation. There should be a responsible person for each SOP. When SOP is allotted to any study director, it should be on his name. So any SOP, like I will put one SOP number 101. So it should give details. So this SOP, how many copy holders? So there should be their names, and they're responsible for their own copy. Also, it should be available at workplace. During inspection, if an auditor comes, he will observe, he will witness the procedure, which is the experimental during experiment, and he will ask about SOP. And SOP is not produced at the time. It means SOP is not available at the workplace, and SOP is not followed. One cannot claim that I am doing SOP and I am just keeping all the things in my mind. No, SOP should be available at workplace. And there should be formal change control. Now in SOP, there is always need of changing. Why? Because now today there is some guideline change, some locations are changed, some instruments are changed in the studies. So this type of thing, then one has to change the SOP accordingly, either by amendment or by revision. Now there should be a formal change control. documented procedure that you have to take SOP, you have to take photocopies of it. You have to take master, you have to change the certain matter, modification or deletion or addition. It should be signed and approved. This type of change, and there should be central organization. SOP should be maintained by a single place, central place. So all SOPs in organization, everything, whatever is amended, revision, and then it is distributed, disposed, it should be done by one central unit. So it will be by this following these points, SOP is successfully implemented. Now, during centralized organization, there are certain rules. There should be a set standard format imposed. So now, throughout organization, SOPs will be in same model. SOP numbers, titles, author's name, approval of the management, SOP review dates, amended details, numbers, organization address, everything should be in uniform matter. Only matter is the experimental procedures or whatever the inside information, this will be changed, but its whole the format will be unique. Same for the organization. Now, single point for ID numbers issuance. So central organization means any person who wants to change, he or she will go to only one centralized organization where he will do the necessary things. Another thing is manage changes, versions, traceability. Now, even after 5 years, someone wants to know what was written in the SOP 3 years back, in which SOP was followed, which issue number was followed, who has written the SOP. So this type of procedure, this information, they can go and by the same single point, they can get the information. This information is required when during inspection from external agencies. They will ask for this type of information, and because they will take some study report from the archives and then they will check this type of things. Then automatically they will go for SOP 3 years back, 5 years back. So we can provide the SOPs based on this type of information. Is also ensure distribution and disposing, because centrally organized place, it will be easily tracked that how many persons are copy holder. So accordingly, they will distribute these SOPs to those copy holders, or during disposing, they will go to these copy holders and take the old issues and then dispose it off. Now, for this ensure cross-departmental coherence of SOPs. Now there are some example of balance. Now certain types of balance models. Now they are used in 2 or 3 separate departments. So during for review of the SOP, the this organization central place, they can communicate to other sections, departments that this SOP now needs review, so they can make a team. So they will be communicate to all sections and they can bring together on one platform to review the SOP. Another is review by QA. So once it is reviewed by all concerned persons, and then they can give their opinion, and then they can make draft. It can come to QA. So QA also verify and review the SOP, whether it can satisfy all the criteria, all the SOP for SOP, and also technical or other matters. So now SOP needs review, time to time review. Now why SOP needs review? Because procedures, sometimes they are changing. If it is not changed, then even there is set timeline. Some organization has 6 months, some has 1 year, some has 2 years. So for certain period, this review records should be completed by the reviewers. They will take the SOP, they will review the SOP, they will check the current procedure, they will check its current guidelines, whether any problem is there or not, or everything, and they can do the periodical this review. So there should be a review team. Generally, minimum 2 persons will be okay to review an SOP. So that so other persons can also add their experience or their comments or something. After this review records should be maintained by this central place. All review records. So in review records, they will check whether the SOP needs needs revision, no revision, or some change with by the amendment or something. So this type of review record should be kept. These review records can be checked by QA persons or external agencies. Now, review records have some many information like SOP and issue number. So certain SOP is under review. So people will document it by the entering SOP number and issue number, then names of reviewers and their opinions, also reason for revision, amendment, or no revision. Like one acute oral toxic study SOP is under review, and one person is reviewing it, and then they find that okay, there is no guideline change, there is no process change, then they can just write that no revision required, and again another further 2 years they can extend the review date. Another is if there is a reason for revision, then they can amendment also. If there is only one paragraph, one split, one sentence has to change, then they can go for amendment, page amendment. Otherwise, they can revise full SOP. There should be timeline and responsive person. After there should be timeline, how much time it is required to revise the SOP, and who will be the responsive person to do the report. There should be date of review. That on this date SOP was reviewed. It should be acknowledged by TFM. So as TSPL management will acknowledge it, and that okay, TFM will agree that by this time SOP will be implemented and revised, finalized, and implemented. Now SOP amendment. It is a part of document change, but not the whole SOP. Like during the review, if you find that 1 or 2 pages are required to change, and then by just small changes, then we can do for amendment. So we have to identify the amendment part. So like section 3.4, second paragraph, it needs amendment. So we can do that amendment, that certain part. So one has to take the master copy, you have to take the printout, and you have to provide the pages, the approval of amendment. So what happens is, once it is amendment is drawn, so part was changed. Now you have to identify the change part. So it either should be italics or in bold or in underlined that this part is amended. It will be signed by the person who is amending and approved by the management, and the details will be on the required part. On the first page or whatever the SOP is, the organization's SOP. So they will write that this part section of the SOP was amended, this part, and was signed by the person who has amended it. And then these copies of these amended pages will be distributed to all copy holders. It will be replaced, and old pages will be collected by this person who is responsible, and then will destroy by keeping record. And this distribution is as per the distribution list. Now there's a maintenance of master copy. So each and every change this type, it will be master copy will be maintained in the archives, all the original documentation. Now SOP revision, it takes place when there is a major change in document. Now whole guideline is revised. That time we have to means all the procedure is changed. So SOP related SOP has to be revised. Or it can be revised when there is a amendments, limited amendments are over. So we have to identify the new issue, what is the issue, and then SOP once it is revised. So SOP number will be remain same, but issue number will be changed. This is given in the SOP. So anytime one can identify that why it was happened. Now generally in SOP, in last section, they are providing this summary details that what happened when our issue B revised to issue C. So why in small points, why it was revised. So certain points we can give it is due to guideline change, due to procedure change, or locations change, whatever the information. Then after this revision, one has to distribute it and retrieve of old version. The old version should be retrieved and disposed of. The soft or paper master list should be updated accordingly. Now, benefits of good SOP system is it should be standard. It gives standardized, consistent procedure, and it reduces test-to-test variability. It is also means of study reconstruction. after 5 or 6 years, if one has to understand how the study is conducted, that I can retrieve the SOP of that period, and he can see that how the process was conducted or full done. It also optimizes the way we do things, and it also give our idea and record of how the technical or administrative improvements are happened in the organization. So today SOP system gives some benefits, like it is approved by the management, so it formalizes their commitment to quality, and it is binding the all the staff. It is ease of documenting complicated techniques. So many type of complicated techniques we can give reference of SOP, which is written in the SOP. It also, in case of personal turnover, it can carry out continuity. Like today, 2 persons left organization, 2 persons start to carry out the activity, but they will do same if they will other to SOP. So their continuity in the this experimentation part will be same. It also forms training manual. For the newcomers, it can give as a manual, it can give training and means of communication during inspections, even internal or external, during sponsors for client visits, during technology transfers. We can provide the SOP so they can get idea. So it is a means of communication, how we do the things. So information SOP generally format may be different in different organizations, but generally it has information like SOP number, issue number, title. It should be written by who has compiled or who has revised, who has approved it, and who has cleared the SOP for the issue. It should have effective date, copy number, copy holder, location, and review dates. It has also information like amendment information, page number, section, what is the details of amendment, date of amendment, approval, address of organization, and page numbers. Now there are different sections like title, purpose, scope, general points like highlighting the principal features or gives background information. It also give procedure like instruction in logical and chronological orders. This is the main important thing, that all the process should be done step by step in logical and chronological order. There should be a references and help, like some instrument SOPs. There should be a help to whom we have to contact in case of problem, technical engineer or in-house some person, engineer or something, maintenance department or something. So this type of names or numbers can be given, the details. So now some SOPs which are appropriate in organizations, like first is SOP for SOP generation and maintenance. How to write SOP, how to maintain the SOPs. So this type of should be available in the SOP for SOP. Another is handling and receipt of this test item and control reference items. Another is identification, characterization, formulation, and storage of test and control items. This is generally related to chemistry department in CROs, and also test and control office. Another is how to test homogeneity and stability of test item carrier mixers. Use of equipment. Use of equipment is almost all balances, instruments, equipment. They have particular related SOPs. Other appropriate SOPs in list is maintenance, service, repair of instruments, calibration, and equipments. Another is Another is hello. Is there any problem?
You can continue, sir.
Another is Another is instruction for use of computers, hardware and software. Now, document number 17 has already in effect, and so how to do computer for this software, how to maintain them, how to validate, revalidate. So all the SOPs should cover this type of activities. Another is data collection, handling, storage, and retrieval. All the raw data, hard copies, soft data, how to handle them, how to collect them, how to archive them, how to keep them in the storage. Like in archives, there are hard copies, records, test item, then you can say pathological samples, slide. So this type of storage, how to maintain this also reflect in SOPs, and how to retrieve it when during the inspections or during the need of sponsors requirement, this sponsors carry other things. So this type of things are also should be in SOPs. So another is safety and housekeeping, purchase of consumables, study plan and report writing. This type of all types of SOPs, they are required in the a particular organization. So now, what are the problems when we follow the SOP? What are the problems we face? So one is main is deviations from the SOPs. Now there are many type of deviations. We can go in detail afterwards. Another is non-availability at workplace. This is the major problem. SOPs are not to be kept in the drawers, but it should be available at workplace. People have to open it, read it, and accordingly you have to carry out activities. Another is incorrect information, poor language. Poor language can result in some disaster. A person doesn't understand the language and he can follow it wrongly. Another is lack of reference during study plan preparation. When study plan preparation, one is to follow the SOP, and there should be a proper references of guidelines and other. Another is lack of proper review. If review is not properly done and SOPs continue in the practice, then it can give just as result during execution of the activity. Another is uncontrolled documents in use. Now, not a single person should be allowed to use and follow this uncontrolled SOP. It should be controlled so that we can authenticated copy, he can use it. So deviations from SOPs, why it happened? Sometimes it is due to lack of training and sometimes due to lack of understanding. Also, it is one type of disobedience with TFM approved documents and rules. If someone do the deviation intensely, if he wants to do something wrong things in the study, want to play with the result something, then it is disobedience with the TFM approved document. It is also unintended departure due to nature of work. Now we can say that there is a temperature requirement, and because of some power supply cut, it may shoot out of the range. Then it is an unintended departure due to nature of work or due to this facility. So now there are some particular examples of deviations from SOP, like container not labeled. Now it is written in SOP to label the container, but not written. It means it is negligence or it was unintended departure, but it has not followed SOP. Another is preventive maintenance not performed as per schedule. So SOP always mentions to give the period of the maintenance period, preventive maintenance. That's certain after 6 months or once a year you have to do the preventive maintenance, and if it is not followed, then it is a deviation. Temperature or humidity range, which is given in the SOP, it is also goes out of the range, then automatically it is the deviation. Another is sampling procedure for A analysis, and that type of deviation will be observed, like sampling was properly done as written in SOP. Now weighing balance designated for some, you can say, to weigh animals, and someone is using some other material to weigh it, it is a deviation from the SOP. Another is like acclimation period. SOP suggested you have to take maximum 8 days of period acclimation, and someone using it only 5 days or 10 days out of the range, then it is a deviation from the SOP. Another is photo period, which is not maintained as per SOP for culture, or technicians were not trained, so it is a deviation from the SOPs of study as well as training of CV. You can say training, SOP for training. Another is procedure for feeding of animals. Not a timely feeding was not done, or renewal of water was not done as per SOP. Technicians were not aware what is written in SOP. Then it is the deviations. Breeding medium or culture medium were not prepared as per SOP. Again, it is a deviation. So this deviation should be handled in proper way. Now we can say documents of deviation. This is the first thing. So there should be a deviation record, and it should be endorsed by study director. Because what is the date of deviation, when it was observed, what is the impact of the deviation, and it should be written by study director, all the details. It should be reported to TFM, test management, and should be reviewed by QA, so that impact on study can be identified. Reason for deviation. Reason for deviation he has to return because sometimes it is intended, sometimes unintended. So he has to provide a reason, justification for a deviation. And there should be some corrective action and timeline. So handling of deviation from SOPs. So there are two types of deviations. One is study related record of deviation. So where a study director has to draw in this deviation record, where he has to write a SOP number, issue number, section or subsection of the SOP, what was the detail of the deviation, what is the impact on quality and integrity of study. So this is most important because there's an impact on the result, integrity, quality, then study should be repeated. Otherwise, it will be rejected in the regulatory registration. And there should be corrective actions, what to do. If study director can justify the deviation is not impacting quality integrity, then it can be, it should go in the report and it will go into regulatory agency. Now another is handling of deviation from which is non-study related, where something happened in facility and which is not, it is deviating SOPs. Then there's a record which doesn't have impact, but it should be a SOP number, issue number, section, subsection, and then it's a based on what happened actually. And then there should be corrective action, and the record should be kept in the files. So in an organization, generally during inspection, you have to provide details. How many total active SOPs are there? How many SOPs are in distribution? And how many SOPs are withdrawn? All master copies should be kept in the archive. So in typical CRO, you can say there are toxicology SOPs, chemistry related SOPs, administrative related SOPs, QA related SOPs, IT related SOPs, archives and TICO related SOPs. And this type of SOPs should be available, a list of the available in the organization, which is helpful during inspection, either external or internal. So this is all the details of the SOPs. Now, what is the future of SOPs? It is the video SOPs. Nowadays, even during, you can say, one person want to cook the new dish, and they just open the YouTube, search this keyword search by the keywords, and then they find the video, how to do add ingredients, so and so. Now, when people want to paint the car, or they want camera setting, or mobile setting, or anything, it's available in YouTube. So since 2014 or 2015, the matter is still in the, you can say, in the discussion whether video SOP can be used. So still there is no guideline, but it is still in the air. The video SOP can be used, especially animal handling, dosing, this type of how to handle instruments, and there are many scopes out there. So this is the future of SOPs in as a video SOP, but then still there is a lack of guideline that how to identify number, issue number, whatever, how to dispose it or whatever. It is still in the air. But OECD countries may propose the guideline for the video SOPs in future. So this is from my side. I say thanks to you all for the listening. Please, any questions from your side?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was quite informative session, and you nicely covered the things about SOP. Sir, indeed, it was clear, precise, and fully understood. And sir, it would be highly appreciated if you address some questions and concerns about from our participants. So, shall we go ahead with that?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So the first question is, SOP written in a local language shall have the same or different number from main SOP?
Same or different?
Number from main SOP.
Same number.
Same number. Okay.
But I will tell you two things here. First is we have to clear cut describe in our SOP for SOP that how you are going to handle the local SOP which is translated in local language. If you have maintained separate list, then you have to identify this on your master list and it should be clear cut reflected in SOP. That's fine. Otherwise, you can use
Sir,
the number, but also you have to issue the you have to describe how you are going to do it in your SOP.
okay. Sir, Dr. Suvendu Kumar Sahu has one question.
Yes.
What is the difference between guideline and procedure?
Yes, I will tell you two things. One thing, in guideline, just one small example is, I am taking generally example of temperature. It is very much useful. Guideline says that you have to maintain temperature 20 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade during the experiment. This is the guideline. Guideline doesn't say which type of thermometer you are going to use, how you are going to take observations, how you are going to document your temperature record. No, guideline doesn't say this. Guidelines say you have to maintain temperature 20 plus 2 degrees centigrade. But now, when you are in real experiment, you are going to take this type of activity, recording temperature. Then you have to prepare one SOP for the temperature observation. That which type of thermometer, digital or this your you can say analog, you are using it. Then how you are going to take temperature, how you are going to record it in digitally or soft copy or hard copy, and this type of. Now this is the procedure. How you are going to do the activity. Guideline doesn't describe this procedure.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, Swati Vuttukuri has one question. Is there any standard reference for SOP procedures?
Standard reference means how to write SOP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is something which is continuous evolvement, you can say.
Yes,
I think even in JRF started 96 onwards, and now we are having issue number P or Q. So it is evolvement. So whenever you are writing the SOP, it is always continuous changing. So you have to accordingly update your SOP also. But still, on internet, you will get it.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir,
fine.
Okay, one more question, sir. Pratha Sarthi Pandit has the question. Documents change request form, not needed to fill up when any change of SOP.
Pardon, just repeat.
Document change request form is not needed to fill up when any change of SOP is there.
You mean to say that document change control change is not required?
Yes. Is it required or not? That kind of question is there.
Which during changing in SOP?
Yes.
Any change in SOP should be documented.
Oh.
Any change.
Okay.
And
Dr. Sanjeev, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
Dr. Sanjeev Achare, sir, if you have any questions.
Sir, this is like a in a routine, sir. How many changes are like allowed in a frequency? Minimum 3 years, or what is the time frame? Generally, you must have to review them.
Changes means like amendment or revision?
Yes, amendments.
Yes, amendment is depend on organization's SOP.
Yes.
Some are keeping 2, some are keeping 3, some are keeping 5. It is upon your SOP and upon your experience. You can decide on your SOP that you can go up to 5 amendments or 2 amendments.
Okay.
I generally recommend 3 amendments.
It's not mandatory.
Pardon?
Is it a mandatory thing that you have to amend? It is a flexible.
No, it is as I have mentioned. If it is just there is a small changes in SOP.
Okay.
Either it is a modification, deletion, addition, whatever. It is small change because there are certain page numbers in SOP.
Yes.
So you cannot go one amendment by to other page. So in that matter, 1, 2 page, 2 sentences, you have to just delete it or you just add it. Then you can go for amendment.
Correct.
If procedure is changed or then criteria change, then you have to it will give change 2 or 3 pages. So automatically you have to revise the SOP.
Okay.
Okay. Once again, thank you, sir, for sharing the knowledge.
Yeah.
Sir, one more question from.
Okay.
Sir, one more question from Dr. Javed Ahmad.
Sir.
Can future of SOP will be on digital board? We can have any SOPs on same board in labs?
Last word I'm not getting.
Sir, I repeat again. Can future of SOP will be on digital boards? We can have many SOPs on same boards in lab.
See, I will tell you. Many organizations now having PDF SOPs on their screen.
Right, sir.
First thing, so you can modify this. You can just scan it and make PDF, and then you have to mention this all the procedure in your SOP also. That other than hard copy, you are keeping these soft copies of SOPs on your screen, so anyone can access it on their screen and they can read it. There is no problem at all.
Okay,
But
sir.
their procedure should be in the SOP that you are taking. You are also maintaining soft copies. Now, other thing is, once your SOP is revised or amended, then again you have to replace the soft SOP also, same way.
Right, sir. Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pratik sir. Dr. Chirag here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes.